You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan England, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit hiring system, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. Today's guest is no stranger. If you've been following me for any period of time, not only have I been on her podcast, but she's been on my podcast as well. Anyways, she is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to building a team, leading A players, becoming a better leader yourself. And the idea that she's going to share with us today about how work-life balance really should work and what we need to know as entrepreneurs so that we can get everything we've ever wanted out of our business and focus on the things that matter most is just so profound. Want to welcome to today's show the owner and founder of Tap the Potential, Dr. Sabrina Starling. Dr. Sabrina, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm delighted to be here with you.
You know, when I start out an episode, I really like to share with our listeners, what is this groundbreaking idea, this shift in mindset that our listeners have to take, and so they get a glimpse into what we're going to be talking about. And you have it broken down into such a great phrase and something that's so easy to remember. And I just want to turn it over to you. And I just want you to share with our listeners, what is it that we're going to be talking about today?
We're going to talk about work supports life, not the other way around.
So hold on a second. So wait a minute. You mean I wasn't born just to work?
No. I love to work. I am like a workaholic. And especially when I'm excited about something, I just go. And what I have found is that when we are intentional to structure and I don't want to, structure is such that's not the right word, but when we're intentional to be more alive and have more time for what matters most to us in life, we show up better at work. We are more effective. We bring passion and energy that we don't have when we're burnt out. And 9 out of 10 of us entrepreneurs are burning out. The grinding it out grinds us up. And we don't function at our best. And what I am absolutely fascinated by is the research I've been doing since 2020 with over 600 entrepreneurs now, and we've analyzed data on 200 of them. What the successful, thriving entrepreneurs do differently than those who are burning out. And so if 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs is burning out and 1 out of 10 is not, what is going on? What is that 1 out of 10 doing differently than the rest of us? And it's fascinating.
Wow. I love when you said what matters most. I mean, that's actually part of our purpose statement over at Core Matters, to help entrepreneurs focus on what matters most. And people always push back and like, it's so vague, matters most. I'm like, yeah, but what matters most to me, what matters most to you is different. Yes. It's vague on purpose. But I think that there's that important distinction there, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs. My dad was one of them. I mean, that's where my story comes from. He had this idea, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. I'm going to have so much more. I'm going to have time freedom and money freedom and all. And then he grinds it out for a decade or two and goes, wait a minute. I was sold a bill of goods here. This is not what I signed up for.
Right.
And somewhere along the way, we forget.
Yeah. I mean, every one of us has a reason that we go into business and we throw ourselves into what we do. And then the need to generate cash flow in the business takes over. And so we get caught up in do whatever it takes to get cash coming in the door. And then we get really good at cash coming in the door. So we're good at sales, we're good at conversion. And then all of a sudden the business is growing and we don't know how to hire and lead, which both you and I, we talk about that at length. It's so important to know how to hire those A players and retain those A players and lead those A players. So that's a whole new skill set to learn. And if we never grow and learn that, then we stay in this cycle of our business grows, and the more it grows, the more it demands of us. And the other thing that our research is showing is so many entrepreneurs walk around with this feeling of, I wonder how much longer I can keep this going. Like, how many more months and years do I have in me to go at this pace? And it's that feeling of, I'm beginning to doubt my ability to keep up, because the business is exceeding the skill set, the leadership skill set of the entrepreneur. And so when we have that feeling, that is one of our signs that our business growth is limited by our leadership development. And I had a mentor years ago say to me that entrepreneurship is the greatest self-development journey we can ever go on. And at the time that he said that to me, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. But man, when I look back on that 10 years later, and I think, oh, that I so underestimated what he meant with that phrase. Because for our businesses to grow, we have to grow in our development. So our blind spots, our Achilles heels, keep our businesses stuck. And it keeps us in that grinding it out phase of the business.
So many paths I want to go down right now, but I can only pick one. You know, when you were talking, and I love this, when we can talk about developing leadership skills, I think there are a lot of people that talk about that, a lot of ways to learn that. But what I thought was really cool in what you just said, and what really stood out to me, was that if we there's two parts to it, but we got to grow our team so that we can get what we want, but then we got to be able to lead our team so that we can get what we want. Like, it's not just one or the other. And we were talking before the show, and you said something to me I thought was really cool, and I hope it's okay that I share this with our listeners. But the book you really wanted to write, like, you've written multiple books, and the book you really wanted to write was The 4-Week Vacation. That's the one you wanted to write, but you knew you couldn't write that book without helping people hire. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you had to write these other books first. And what I love about that, and you were talking about that entrepreneur in personal development and being an entrepreneur. I mean, I think so many times we forget that sometimes we have to write another book before we get to write the one we want. Yeah. We have to build a business to get what we want. And we might not enjoy the building the business part, but the outcome is what we're after. And I think I see that happen so much, is that people forget that you have to build a team that wants to be there if you're ever going to get what you want out of business.
Yeah. So you just had a guest on who talked about the importance of vision. And we have to create a vision for our business and where it's headed. And that business, your guest talked about how the business needs to support the life. And so I think this is so important, because so many business coaches out there will tell you, let's create a vision. How much revenue do you want to bring in? Right. And it's just all about the revenue. And so when we focus on growing the revenue, we can inadvertently create a business that does not support our life. So when we start with creating a vision for what this business is out there in the world to do, beyond just make us money so we can go do our fun thing, and then we really think about, how does this business support my life? And then go beyond that and look at, well, how does this business support the lives of my team members? How does it make their lives better? How does it make our clients and customers' lives better? And even beyond that, what impact can we have on the community around us through our business? And when we start answering those questions, we create a very compelling, vivid vision that team members want to be a part of, that they're attracted to that. Yeah. And kind of tying this all full circle, when it comes to hiring A players want those opportunities for advancement. If you don't have a vision, there's no opportunities for advancement for these A players. I mean, I know you need to have a role chart. You need to show them where they can go on the role chart. But there's no story in that. The vision is the story that people get excited about. And when we really think through, well, how does this work support my life? Then we start creating a life away from work. And the bigger our lives get away from work, the less we want to be in the doing of the work. And that's a good thing, because the less we do, the more opportunities we create for people on our teams to grow and move into positions of leadership in our companies. And so if we have no life away from the business and we just work, and we think about work 24/7, there's no compelling life to go to, and we will just continue down the path of working. And so we don't grow as people, we don't grow as leaders. And you shared, prior to us coming on, you shared an interesting bit of research on how our identity and self-worth as entrepreneurs is tied to revenue. I want you to talk about that a little bit, because I think that's so relevant to this discussion.
Yeah, I don't remember the source of the research paper. I read through this article though that talked about how as entrepreneurs, our income level is tied to our self-worth. And because we have this belief that we control our income levels as entrepreneurs, we have this belief that we control our self-worth, and we want more and more and more and more and more. And you mentioned just being able to get out of the doing. I just spent 8 days away from my business. I was supporting a client, but I wasn't in the doing. I was supporting them in their retreat that they were having. And then I spent a few days with family on vacation. And I'll tell you, I came back from that, and I walked into the business, and I was like, there is so much that this business needs from me right now, and it's not the doing.
Yeah.
And it was that being away for 8 days that made me have that moment of clarity and saying, oh, I can be so much more impactful in this business when I get out of the doing.
Yes, that's exactly it. And that's what the 4-week vacation is about, is intentionally taking more and more time away from the business and getting the business to run without your daily involvement. And the most impactful things that happen, the $10,000 an hour ideas happen when you're away from the business. So this morning, I didn't start my work day. It was almost 10 o'clock. Shh, don't tell It's almost 10 o'clock before
Wait a minute. I want this episode to get lots of downloads.
No, but this is my point. I typically work about 25 hours a week. And this morning I went for a walk, a hefty walk, aerobic walk. It was very hefty, up and down hills. And then I came back and I meditated. And then when I was getting ready and I was starting to go through my notes for our meeting today, all of a sudden I had a bolt from the blue idea about my podcast. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's it. And that wouldn't have happened if I'd started my day at 8 o'clock. Because I did have the thought this morning, I have a lot to do today. Maybe I should just skip the walk and get down and get busy. That idea that I had would not have occurred had I done that. And so it's the time that we take away from our businesses that allows us to have those bolt from the blue ideas that really move the business forward.
So I have a question for you. And this is probably a silly question, but I can see that I can imagine a lot of people are listening to this going, hey, Dr. Sabrina, this is awesome. Pie in the sky. You don't understand my business, right? Like you've probably heard all this before. You've surveyed 600 businesses. You've probably heard all this. One of the biggest challenges that I see in business right now is this belief that as the younger generation, the modern workforce, they're lazy, they're entitled, they don't really want to work, they don't care. How am I ever going to have someone on my team who cares as much as I do, who's going to take the time to take care of the customer like I do, who's going to do the work as good as you know where I'm going, right? Like this belief that if I want it done right, I have to do it myself. And so I can't free myself up to do what you're talking about because nobody is good right now. Nobody out there wants to work. Nobody cares. I hear this all the time. And I'm sure that you have not only some good insight into it, but maybe some research and some tips that you can share with our listeners on that.
Yeah, I just want to assure you, not only have I heard it all, I've been there myself. So when my business started growing years ago, and I've written the How to Hire the Best series. Like, I help people with their hiring day in and day out.
Yeah.
And when my business started growing, you know what? I didn't want to add other coaches. I didn't want to add other team members, because what if they didn't do it as well as I did? And I thought, you know what? I'll just keep it small, because then I'm in control. And I can have it just, the clients can have the experience that I want them to have. And I really came to terms with, if I continue to play small, I am not serving the world. I'm not creating opportunities for others to grow. And just to kind of highlight this, I'm sure many of your listeners know who Michael Gerber is, the author of the E-Myth. Mm-hmm. Years ago, when I started my business, I read the E-Myth, and I came face to face with all the things I was already doing wrong in my brand new business, because I was doing all the things. I wasn't creating systems for other people to run the business. And then a few years after that, I got to meet Michael Gerber at a conference, and he was going to sign our books. And they told us we could ask him one question. And I was standing in line, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, Michael Gerber, one question. It better be good. I've got to come up with just the right question. And I couldn't. And so finally, when it was my turn, I was just honest with him. I said, Michael, I'm a business coach just like you, and I'm coaching business owners to take their lives back from their businesses, and they're succeeding. They're hiring people. They're growing teams. But my business, it's all me. It all depends on me. They only want me. And I said, how did you do this? And he looked at me and he said, my dear, I own a coaching company, and I have never coached a day in my life. I just thought, oh my gosh. So I walked away, and initially his answer really kind of ticked me off. I was like, what kind of answer is that? He didn't tell me anything. But then as I was walking away, it was like the mind explosion. You know, that little emoji where your brain just explodes. Yeah. And I realized, oh my gosh, that man, he just told me everything. And my awareness is that if I continue doing what I'm doing, I will not get different results.
Sure.
And it made me completely aware of how much I had limited myself with my mindset. And so that's my response to your question, which is not a silly question at all, because I think every one of us business owners has been in that place where we don't believe the right people are out there that we can trust, who can do what we do and do it the way we want it done. And what I've learned over the years is the key, I really think it all comes down to when we know what our core values are, and we identify those and turn those into immutable laws, and we use those as filters in our hiring process. So if someone does not align with our immutable laws, they don't come in, because when they do align with our immutable laws, we can trust how they're going to handle things. We could be away from the business. Something may come up where there's no system or process to guide the team members' actions. But if they hold our immutable laws, we will feel really good about how they handled it. And they may have handled it very differently than we would have, but we will still feel good about the outcome. And that's the ultimate, is that we need to be able to trust our team members. And if they have similar values, we can trust them. And what I've come to learn all these years later of going through team members, and we've had some, we've lost some. And what I've really learned is that the people who work with our clients now, in addition to me, bring a whole different set of experiences and ways of thinking that our clients love. And I think, wow, I would have deprived our clients of knowing those individuals who are on our team and getting to work with them if I would have said, I'm going to play small. I'm going to keep control because I don't trust anybody. And because I have learned to trust others, now what we do at Tap the Potential is so much greater than what I would have done on my own. And that's my answer to any one of you who's listening and you're thinking, but I'm scared. And what if you quit being scared and you get some courage and you allow those A players to come on your team? Because when they do, watch out, they are amazing. And that's a whole other topic that most of us are not prepared to lead A players. Yeah. We're prepared to manage people who aren't A players. Go ahead.
You were telling the story, like I was so ingrained in your story, and I'm picturing, and you didn't say this, but I'm just picturing you going, okay, I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go. And hopefully they do it the way I did. And I can just see you going, they didn't do it the way I wanted them to do it at all. They did it so much better. And I'm
Yes.
like, glad for so much.
Yes. That's
I mean, I can just
exactly
picture
it.
you going, I don't know if you did, but
Yeah. I have that experience every day. I mean,
mm,
I am blown away. What our team did last week, we had a phenomenal launch. We signed up 3 new clients, and I'm blown away at my team members because they did things I wouldn't have done. And they did things I wouldn't have thought to do. And that's good.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thing. I see that sometimes. I'm like, you don't want them to do it your way because your way is stuck. Like maybe
Yes.
they have a better way of doing it. Or
Yes.
or maybe there's just something you're blind to. You were talking about blind spots earlier, like the things that we're blind to. And I
Yeah.
know that for me, I can get in the business and just blinders on because I'm focused
Mhm.
on something.
Mhm.
And there's so much that I'm missing that my team sees.
Yes.
And even if I didn't have the blinders on, I might not seen them. And so it's just so powerful in that. So we find these people. You're right. We need a whole nother episode or 10 about how to lead A players because it's
Yes.
probably so different.
Yes.
But so we make this decision. We say, okay, we're going to start hiring some people. We're going to look for some of the best people and have to let go. What's 1 or 2 tips that you can share with our listeners that basically says, hey, if you want to go test out some of these principles, some of these ideas we're talking about, what's 1 or 2 things they could go implement in their business and go, wow, Dr.
Yeah.
Sabrina is onto something and validate what you're saying?
So I think the best place to start is I have a chart of $10,000 an hour activities. And
Mm,
that's really where we need to be focused in our business is our $10,000, you and me and business owners, we need to be at the $10,000 an hour level a lot in our business. Not all the time. It's not possible to live there, but for the most
mm-hmm,
part, a lot. And so this chart contrasts the difference between a $10 an hour activity, a $100 an hour activity, $1,000 and $10,000. And
mm,
I encourage business owners to print it out, laminate it, put it behind your computer monitor where your eye falls on it, and just become aware of how much of
mm,
your day is spent on those $10 an hour, $25, $50 an hour activities. Because that's where you could be creating opportunities for someone else on your team. And so you don't start at the highest level. Like, don't try to go hire a mini you. That doesn't work.
mm-hmm,
Start with the least risky roles in the business. A lot of times it's a VA or an executive assistant, somebody to sort through your email and handle your calendaring and help you with billing. Those simple tasks, we totally underestimate how much of our time is spent right there, responding to phone calls and text messages, all the things. If you can just have somebody who is your buffer there, that immediately starts to free up your time. And then
mm,
you move along to looking at what else needs to come off your plate to get to the higher value activities. But as you build your confidence that you can delegate these roles to people who are A players, who do them better than you because that's all they focus on, and they don't even have to be full-time positions in the business. They can be independent contractors. And so you have success with that, then your confidence grows like, okay, I think I can do this. I'm building my muscle. I'm going to move to the next level. And then you become more and more confident in your ability to
mm.
do it. So this chart of $10,000 an hour activities, you can get it at tapthepotential.com/10K.
Love that. And everybody go download this chart. Like I'm picturing this chart behind my computer, which doesn't have a wall, so I'll have to get a stand for it. But I love that there's a direct correlation between letting go and building your confidence for the next letting go.
Yes.
It's not just let go and good luck. It's let go with the
Right.
little things, build some confidence, go, wow, people really can impress me. People really can
Mhm.
exceed my expectations, and then let go some more, and then let go. I love that back and forth. It's almost like a dance that you have to do to get there.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, I hear $10,000 an hour activities, and I'm like, oh, long ways to go. Like all these other things, the house of cards will fall, Dr. Sabrina, if I let go of some of these things. But I love the way you outline that as almost like a dance that we have to do inside of our business. Let go, build some confidence, let go, build some more confidence, back and forth as we grow our team. And we get to focus on changing the world, or heck, just changing our families. It doesn't have to be this big grandiose thing. It's what matters most, like you said earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Ryan, one of the things you and I agree on, there's many things you and I agree on. One of them is that when you hire people, you want to clarify the result of what you want them to do. Like, you're not delegating tasks, you're delegating a result. And so when you say, and this goes back to our talk about the vision. When we have a vision of what it is that we want our clients to experience in our businesses, then we can clarify for our team members, this is the result that I'm looking for. I want our clients to have this experience with us. And this is in your role, this is how what you do ties to that result. And these are your results that you're responsible for. So we're not telling them how to do their job. We're telling them this is the result we're looking for. And that gives them tremendous freedom to figure out the best way to go and do their jobs, which ties to what I was saying earlier about how when we get out of the way, our team members will surprise us and they will delight us in what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's so great. Just getting out of the way and letting them shine, letting them perform. I know that you've got a lot of ambitious goals here coming up over the next year, and I can't wait to be on that journey with you. But this idea that work supports life, and I just want to sit with that. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to sit with that. What you're doing is not what you were meant to do exclusively. Like, it might be part of what you were meant to do, but there's so much more, and there's such a greater impact that you can have, not only on the life of your team, which I am very passionate about taking care of your team, but also, the family that doesn't get to see you anymore, or the hobbies that are calling to you and saying, hey, what about that round of golf we haven't played in forever? Like, there's so many more things that we can get out of being an entrepreneur. And I just love the way that you frame that. And going back to your own personal journey, the books you had to write before you got to write the book you wanted to write. And sometimes it's a tough journey, but we all go through it. And I think the vision piece, being able to have that vision and know where you're headed and know why you're doing what you're doing is so critical. This has been great. There's been so many things that I think we could talk about on future episodes. I can't wait to have you back next year and dig deep into some of those. How do people get a hold of you? How do they learn more about what you're doing at Tap the Potential? And I'm sure you have tons of content for them as well, not just the 10K sheet. There's probably a ton of stuff. But how do they learn more?
So first off, if you love podcasts, I have a podcast, the Profit by Design podcast, and I teach on there in depth on all these different topics. You can head over to tapthepotential.com. That's where you can find the podcast. You can find everything that we have on hiring, leadership, growing your team, growing yourself. And as I go out, I want to just shout out Ryan, because this podcast is, I went through the different episodes and I looked at the different guests and the topics. I listened to some of the episodes. Please leave Ryan a review. And Ryan's got a book coming out. And by the time this episode releases, his book may be out there in the world. So pick up a copy of his book. What he's teaching on hiring is mission critical to you taking your life back from your business.
Thank you so much for that. And we'll have all your links in the show notes. Heck, since you mentioned it, I might even have a link to buy my book in the show notes too. So
you should, Ryan. You absolutely should.
Thank you so much for being on the show again. I enjoy it. I look forward to the next time we get to connect and do this again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ryan England here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.